welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today I'm excited to be continuing my playthrough of Zombicide Undead or Alive from Cool Mini or Not. We're going to be picking up exactly where we left it off in part number 1, and if you haven't checked out my setup video, which got mission number 1, the bandwagon, to the table, and then of course part number 1, which got us to where we're currently at right now, you want to check both those videos out first before watching this one. A link will pop up right now in the top right hand corner. You can go check out the showcase to this point and get caught up. Now at this point, we're going to be diving right into the player phase as we have a horde of zombies that have come from the east, the west, the north, and they're all coming south towards our posse. Thomas is going to kick things off in blue. He is going to be using his Henry repeater in order to make some shots into the center of the game board. Being that this thing hits for 2 damage, this is going to be enough to take those brutes out so long as I get the hits that I need. Let's see how we do. Got ourselves just 2, actually just 1 hit. We'll spend our second action doing the same thing. Worth noting, we went up in AP from 11 to 12 for Thomas. And we got ourselves a really bad roll, just 1 kill. I guess the good news around this is that he does have 4 actions total, so I still have 2 more if I want to keep on burning them, which I think I will, because he's one of very few characters I have that can actually do 2 damage. Let's see how it goes. Oh, I'm getting such bad rolls. Just 1 more. All right, another AP, so it gets us up to 14, and we're gonna roll again for the final action for Thomas. Hopefully we get lucky, we can kill all the last 3 in that center area here. Let's see how we do. Got ourselves 1 again. That was the worst string of rolling I've seen, especially on a 50-50 roll. Next, I'm gonna have Jeb move from his current location, 1, 2, 3, to get into the location with everybody else. And this might not seem like a really great idea because he could have gone up to the balcony here and taken some shots, but he has so much equipment being a townsfolk who had done a lot of searching. He's got shotgun, he's got a pistol, a pickaxe, a twin barrel shotgun, a Winchester, a Springfield. Like, he is fully loaded with different types of guns. I want to get him into the same space as the rest of my characters that don't have that type of search ability and try to dole out weapons to them through trades. Next up, I'm going to activate Trixie in green, and she is going to do a trade action with Jeb in her space. And as I just mentioned, here are all the things that Jeb has available to trade, so lots to pick from. So Trixie was able to get a pistol from Jeb, one that can actually do 2 damage, which is great, and right now she's going to make some attacks. She'll be shooting from her current space right here in green into this space. We'll go ahead and roll a die. Anything 4 or above is going to be a 2 damage hit. We're looking for hopefully 2 hits back to back. We'll see how we do. Yes, we got 1 of them. So far, she's a lot more accurate than Thomas was. Let's see if she can finish off the job. And she does. She jumps from 1 to 3 AP. She really doesn't have much, but now that at least she has a decent weapon, she'll be able to do something with it. So her turn is now done. Next up, we're going to activate Carl. Remember, he's a brawler, so he has a class ability that allows him to, for 1 action, he can move up to 2 spaces to get into a zone with zombies to make a free attack. Carl's a bit nuts. He's running right into the horde of the long dead walkers where he's going to make a melee attack. Now he'll be using this weapon right here, which is pretty awesome. 3 dice and a 3+ in order to make hits, which is great. On top of it though, if you move these out of the way, you'll notice he still has the knife, which adds 1 die to another equipped melee weapon. So he's actually going to be rolling 4 dice. So he's in there ready to go. We're going to roll 4 dice, see how we do with our very first free melee attack after doing our move action. We got ourselves 1, 2 hits. Not bad. He's cutting down some of the enemies. He's going to continue to attack now. He's going to use a second action to do so. He does have a total of 4 actions, so that's pretty good. Here we go. Oh, that's a pretty bad roll, but he managed to get a 3 and a 4, so 2 more hits. He's down to 11 AP, still in the yellow zone. He's going to roll for his 3rd attack here. And wow, that is definitely going to do it and clear out the last 2. With his final action, he's going to take a step back into the center zone. That'll do it for his turn. We have 2 more survivors to activate. Next up, we're going to activate Meg, who is currently inside of a building. She's going to use 2 actions back to back to move from there to here and into the center area. Meg is in position, and she has the Colt Hunt line, which is a pistol. She's going to use her class ability for the Gunslinger, which is fanning, in order to rip through as many of these zombies over here as possible. So based on the weapon she's choosing to use, which will be the Colt Hunt line, the only values that are going to change is the accuracy will be 5+ on this roll, and she gets 6 dice. So she's rolling all these dice. Now there is other things that can manipulate that, but we don't have anything that will help. However, we do have a free reload that we can use as a blue skill, and she's on the cusp after 1 kill of going to yellow and getting an extra action, which she'll be able to use right away. So this fanning should get her there. We'll see. We're looking for 5s and 6s, and hopefully things will go well for her. Let's go ahead and and give it a roll and see what we do. We got ourselves 2 hits, which is going to be enough. 2 of the walkers are dead. She's gone up into the yellow zone. She gets an extra action. She has a free reload she's going to use right now because whenever she uses the fanning class ability, she needs to reload after, but she has a free reload, so she can go ahead and do another fanning attempt with the final action, rolling the exact same thing she just rolled and hopefully getting the same results or better because that's all we need to kill off the last 2. Let's see how we do. Looking for 5s and 6s. We'll re-roll this one here, which is bent, but actually it's not going to matter because we got a 6 and a 5 anyway. Actually, we got 6, 5, and another 5. These 2 walkers are dead. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty impressed with Meg. We needed to do that. The reason being is that we have individuals that are going to be in the center, and it's scary having that many walkers nearby because if extra activations begin to occur on the walkers, we could get overwhelmed. So I really needed her to get in there and fan out some of those undead to kind of lower the amount of potential hits that could come our way. Plus, by putting Meg and Carl in the middle there's more individuals to dole out wounds to if we do get overrun somehow. Now, I still have Pablito left, and I'm wondering what I should do with him, being that he's been up on the stagecoach or in the wagon for the majority of this game so far. Pablito needs to get off of the Gatling gun, at least currently, in order to get a little bit more ready for situations when he, well, isn't going to be holding onto a Gatling gun. So he's going to dismount off of the wagon, and that's going to cost him 1 action. Pablito is going to take the shotgun and the pickaxe from Jeb. It's also worth mentioning that when Meg made her shots when she was fanning, when you fan, it's a boom. So this noise marker moved from here over to here, flipped over. We're all resolved there. And as a final action for Pablito, he's going to move to the middle of the game board in order to hold back the hordes, hopefully, in the near future. So overall, we did pretty good in the player phase, able to keep most people in good positions for the most part and clear out a lot of the insanity in the center of the board. Of course, more's coming our way now as we move into the zombie phase. Well, here's how things are looking right now with all the zombies coming in. Of course, the runners that were in this corner over here, they came blisteringly fast straight into the center. The brutes that were over here came right in. These brutes, thankfully, were too far away, but long story short, we still have a lot of action going on in the center of the board. Now heading into spawning, the very first card off the top for the first spawn location is an abomination, unfortunately, coming in from the north. Well, right when you think everything's going okay, things take a turn quite quickly in this one. An Abominate is coming into the town. It says it can attack at range 0 to 1, which is not good, attacking in its space, and also up to 1 away. The first attack it makes snatches a target survivor. Instead, the survivor is removed from the board until the Abominate is eliminated. And there are special rules beyond this. So this one looks to be, well, a little terrifying. I will tell you the worst thing I've ever seen. It's a beast, but not a wild one. It came from one of these traveling circus shows, a 12 or 14 foot high giant ape, tamed to do some tricks and entertain the audience. I don't know how it died, but it came back as a zombie. Now it's chasing us with more cunning than many ordinary zombies. The special rules for this one state a dynamite or damage 3 weapon is required to eliminate this thing. Game effects that eliminate all actors in a certain zone also can kill this thing. Now, the Abominate attacks whenever it activates with a line of sight to a zone with a survivor at range 0 to 1. As we saw moments ago on its card, the target survivor is dealt 1 wound, and if several targets are available, you get to choose. Now, if the Abominate has not snatched someone yet, the first attack it resolves does not deal a wound. Instead, the survivor is snatched. You remove their miniature from the board. They cannot do anything, be interacted with, or eliminated until they are released. Immediately after the Abominate is eliminated, its victim's miniature is released and set in the zone the Abominate was previously occupying. The survivor cannot play this game round, but can resume playing as normal on the next one. So not only is it kind of like a stun, but you're basically out of the equation. The next spawn to activate is the one on the far right. We have 6 long dead walkers showing up. These things are painful. The final active spawn zone is going to get a handful of runners. We have 4 runners showing up there. It's a really good thing that wasn't an extra activation because, well, it would have been really bad. At this point, our boom noise token is going to flip over to bang, and our objective blue token is going to move to the next space, to the edge of the board. Just like that, another round is complete, and we're going to begin the player phase again. Now, the one thing to note around Zombicide, once you start getting different types of zombies kind of mashed together in the same area, like for instance, we have brutes here with runners, not only is the target priority order going to come into play, but also when we're attacking inside the space, if we're shooting into the space, the target priority order is going to make sure that the higher damage enemies can actually protect the lower damage enemies. In other words, the brutes would kind of shield the runners from any single damage range shots that would come into that space. However, the way to get around this is to use melee weapons in the same space as all of the zombies. At that point, the target priority order doesn't matter, and you can pick and choose which individuals you're killing off so long as you hit the requirement for their damage. We'll start things off with Meg, who's in yellow in the center there, surrounded by runners and brutes. However, she does have a knife, so she can do some melee attacks. She can only hit at 1 damage, so she can only target the runners at this point, but that's okay. She's got a melee weapon. She can pick and choose who she's stabbing. So in this case, she's going to throw some dice and see how many hits we can get. Rolling 1 die and a 4+. She does have 4 actions, so she can do this 4 times, and if she gets really lucky, kill off all the runners, but I highly doubt that's going to happen, but we'll give it a shot. So we'll go ahead right now and roll and see how we do. We got ourselves a 3. That is going to be a miss. Do we want to continue? Probably. I probably want to try my best to thin the herd with Meg before Carl gets real crazy and starts chucking stuff. Wow, what a bad roll. Okay, we need another roll in here. Let's hope for Meg to do a little bit better with her knife. Come on, there's 1. 1 is going down, and then we'll go roll for another one for the final hit, and we got another one. So 2 of them have been taken out. The next individual I'll choose to activate will be Pablito, who's also in this space with a pickaxe. So he's going to go ahead with that pickaxe, rolling 2 dice, and he's going to look for 4 pluses. And again, he's going to choose, based on the melee attack, to be able to hit who he wants. He could take out some of the brutes, but I really do want to get rid of the runners as well. So we'll go ahead, roll these off. There is 2 hits right there. He's extremely close now to getting up into the yellow area to get an additional action. We might as well have him make another attack and try to hit some of the brutes. So he's going to roll 2 dice, and on the second action here, hopefully get something well, and he does. He gets 1. He's going to continue swinging. He's got 2 more actions left, so another attack coming the way of the brutes. He got 1 more. There's only 2 more in that center area. I'd love to see him take out both of them. Let's see how this goes. Is that enough? No, but he gets 1. All right, it's Carl's turn to see what he can do here and hopefully do something really productive. He's going to be going ahead with his awesome bounty weapon that he has up in the top right. It's giving him 4 dice thanks to the knife as he had before. He'll be rolling 4 dice, looking for 4+ on the 1 brute that's there. So pretty good odds for me here. Let's see how it goes. Got ourselves, oh my gosh, apparently things didn't work out so well. 1 die rolled at a screen, but literally we got the exact same result on all of them, which is a complete and utter miss. That was pretty bad. Let's try this again, see if we can do a little bit more damage this time. We got ourselves, oh my gosh, just barely. We got 2, but we only need 1, so that one is now taken care of. Next, Carl's going to move into this zone right here where he's going to use his holy water to discard at range 0 to 1 in line of sight of a spawn zone. So he's going to use it on this mobile spawn. That's going to move that spawn up to the north starting spawn. So by manipulating one of the mobile spawn points, and it has to be an orange one in order for it to go back to the starting spawn, and you have to use holy water on it in order for it to work, or of course a faithful class individual can use water as holy water in order to make it happen. But we've gone ahead and discarded that. We have 1 more action left. For Carl's final action, and although I'm not 100% certain this is the greatest idea ever, but I'm bringing Carl back to the center position. I was going to put him inside the building where the objective token is a little bit deeper in, but I don't want to activate that corpse spawn up there going into the next round, so I'm going to choose not to do that and bring him back to the center. Now, we're in a really tough situation right now, and it's because Thomas is the only individual that has a 2 damage weapon, but also has the ability to pump up the damage to 3 to allow him to take out abominations. We haven't found any dynamite yet, even though we've searched quite a bit, although maybe not as much as we probably should have, but we haven't got any other options. The problem with this is that if Thomas makes the shot, which he can do, from where he's standing, the Henry repeater can shoot from here 3 spaces and actually take that thing out, which sounds like the obvious thing to do, except for the fact that the AP on Thomas right now is at 15, and if he takes 5 more AP, he's going into orange territory, which is going to make all the spawning that much more insane. I'm going to have Jeb activate next. He's going to give his Winchester over to Trixie. Next, I'm going to have Jeb jump on top of the wagon. And with Jeb's third and final action, he's going to go ahead and use the Gatling gun. He's going to be rolling 4 dice, and we're looking for anything that's 4+. He's currently targeting this area right here with all the walkers inside. We'll see how many we can get. I'm really trying to get Jeb's AP up because he's quite far behind. Let's see how we do. Wow, now that is a roll that was worth it. So we get 4 AP out of that. Now that is how you do it. Jeb goes from 2 up to 6, just 1 shy from an additional action. We're going to activate Trixie next, and she has a really cool ability called Jump. And this Jump ability allows the survivor to use it once during each of their turns. The survivor can spend 1 action and move 2 zones into a zone on which they have a line of sight, ignoring everything in the intervening zone. The movement-related skills, of course, are ignored, but movement penalties like having zombies in the starting zone, of course, apply. You have to pay the additional cost for that. But this skill can also be used, and the reason I'm using it, to reach a balcony from a street zone. So currently this balcony is actually adjacent to this, and this. And so because she's in this space, she can use her jump skill in order to jump up onto the balcony rather than having to go all the way around it. Why are we doing this? Because on the top of the bounty weapon deck, the feat, in order to gain it this way, is to gain 5 AP or more while standing on a balcony and in a single turn. Now, what makes this really sketchy is the fact that I need things to be perfect in order to pull this off. I've got 2 actions left, and I'm going to be shooting using the Winchester. This gun uses 2 dice and is a 4+ to hit. So basically, I need to be perfect on the first shot to get 2 AP, and then perfect again on the next shot to get another 2 AP, and then of course get another AP after that in order to get the feat. So the chances of this are pretty slim, but at least she's in a useful position for the future to hopefully do this. All right, let's go ahead and make our roll and see how we do. We're using the Winchester. We're going to be shooting from here into this zone here. This thing has a 2 damage weapon, so it certainly can do things. Now, the boom happening on the Gatling gun is the loudest thing, so the shots coming from her are not going to have this thing move in any way, shape, or form. We're rolling these dice. Let's see how we do. We got ourselves a really poor result. So right off the hop, that is an entire miss. We'll try one more time and see how we do. We got ourselves a hit and another hit. So unfortunately, she wasn't able to pull it off, but it's something to keep in mind for later on because now she's up there. She's certainly got this opportunity to pull this off later on when she's got a full 3 actions. Now we're going to move over to the final individual who hasn't gone yet, and that is Thomas. Thomas is going to activate dangerously close to the orange zone and certainly going to hit it when he takes down this ape. He's going to go ahead and use a VP token on a zone with zombies in line of sight. The Abominape has been targeted. We're going to go ahead and roll our dice for the Henry Repeater. 3 dice, looking for a 4+ to land a 3 damage hit to kill the thing before it even has a chance to do anything nasty to us. Let's see how we do. Easy. That thing is dead. So again, even though I am able to take down some of these abominations before they can actually do too much harm to me, they are aggressively pushing up my AP levels. So we've officially moved up to orange and also get to choose a new skill. We have marksman and VR +1 free combat action. Now the free combat action is pretty awesome sounding, but you do still have to use a token in the space in order to take advantage of that free combat action. Still not bad though, because it pairs up nicely. But the one I think works even better is more so what Thomas has been doing currently right now, which is really being a backup shooter from distance. And because of this, marksman allows him to select a zone he's shooting into and disregard the target priority order, which would be great. So he doesn't have to work his way through heavier enemies down to the little ones. He can pick and choose who he's shooting. The other great thing about it is that there's other survivors in the zone he's shooting. They don't get hit by his friendly fire as they normally would from an individual shooting into a zone with survivors. So that makes him a marksman. That sounds like the right skill for him, so we're going with that. The next thing I'm going to do is going to move Thomas into the center space of the game board for his second action. And while here, he's going to do some shooting. He's going to roll 3 dice and try to take out these 2 brutes right here. I want to keep as many zombies away from the center area as possible. Let's go ahead. Oh, what a killer roll. Those guys are gone. Using my final action with Thomas, I'm going to take Meg's old-timer pistol. She already has a really great Colt Huntliner, which is one of the bounty weapons, so she doesn't really need this, and this is good for Thomas because it allows him to shoot in the same zone he's standing in. And again, with his marksman skill, he won't hurt anybody while he does it. And that's going to do it for the player phase. We can now go ahead and activate all the zombies. Well, this is not looking good because we now need to start spawning cards. And every single time these individuals get trapped in the center of the board, the risk of them dying goes up exponentially because there's extra activation cards inside of this spawn deck. And if we get the wrong ones, we're going to be in big time trouble. So here we go. We're starting with the very first spawn up here. We have that one, this one, and another one. So 3 pulls in total. And speaking of extra activations, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that those brutes are gone, because if they had been on the board, we would have been in trouble. This is a nice one to pull right now. The second spawn card pulled for the orange one way up top is a bunch of walkers, 10 of them in fact. And you can see once you get up into the orange and red levels, things are getting pretty aggressive. We really need to move coming up. And finally, we have a pack of 8 runners coming over here from the west. As you can see, the west side seems to be teeming with runners. The boom token is going to flip over to the bang side and stay next to the Gatling gun. And now we're going to go ahead and move the blue objective token off of the game board, which is going to trigger something for our mission. The locomotive has arrived in the town, and when it does, you're going to simply flip over tile 10V. It's going to turn into tile 10R, and every space that the locomotive runs through, it's going to kill all abominations and zombies inside of it. So it completely wrecked everything on the west-hand side of the board. And then, of course, the center area, which was a gigantic space, is now more of a C in terms of how it's depicted. But basically, my heroes are sitting in this space. This is all train. There's a huge boom token now moved into the train area because, well, the train just came through and basically thrashed everything in existence. And also the mobile spawn point that was here moves to the starting spawn zone. Now, it's worth mentioning, if the survivors happen to have been in either this space or this space and the train comes through, you get the choice as to which side of the tracks you want to be on. These trains that come through will not hit the survivors. They're quick enough to notice the train coming and move out of the way, whereas the zombies just get run over. Now, there couldn't be a better chance right now to take advantage of the train coming in and steamrolling the large majority of enemies on that side of the map, really allowing us the ability to get to those objective tokens and potentially even complete some feats if we can as well. So we're going to be doing everything we can to try to push that as quick as we can. The first individual we're going to activate is going to be Trixie. I want Trixie to use her Winchester from where she is. She's able to shoot up to 3 spaces away. So 1 space being this backwards C. 2 and 3, she can make it all the way down to the end there. She's going to make some shots right now, rolling 2 dice and looking for 4+ to make a hit. Here we go. We need to get at least 5 AP in order to pull this off. And she's also in blue right now, but we're hoping to push her up into yellow. So let's go ahead. We got ourselves 1 hit. That now puts her on the doorstep in terms of AP. She's got 6. She needs 1 more to get an extra action. She's going to keep on shooting. Here we go for the second action. Another shot. She got nothing. You're killing me here, Trixie. We're going to roll for the third action. We need to see 2 here. Come on. Make it happen. 1. That is pretty brutal because she's not going to be able to get up to the 5 AP because this next shot will get her at best up to 4, which is not going to be anywhere close to the 5, but she'll still keep shooting anyway to thin the herd. She's going to take 2 shots, and of course she makes them. Next, we're going to activate Carl, who's going to use his brawler ability for charge to run into a space with zombies. He makes it into the space by charging and is able to take a free melee attack, which he's going to do with his awesome bounty weapon, and he's going to get the +1 off the knife as he has before. He's rolling 4 dice, and he's able to score hits on 3 or higher, which is real good. So here we go. Let's see how many of these guys we can take out. We got 1, 2 of them gone. Going on to the second action, let's see if we can wipe out all 4 of them here. We got 2 of them. Third action, here we go. Got ourselves 2 more. That's going to be enough. We now jump up into orange territory for Carl, which is nothing new as we already have Thomas up there, but he does get a new skill. He has 2 options here. One is a free melee action, which sounds awesome because that's what he's always trying to accomplish. The other option is Reaper during combat. Every time he does an action regarding combat, when he makes a roll and he's assigning hits, he can take out another individual with that hit in addition as well, and also gain the AP from it. So a tough call there, but I think based on his rolls, I'm going to probably take the free melee action. I'm going to have Carl stay in the space he's currently in. He's going to burn his 4th action and not go into the building again. I do not want to have a spawn showing up in there, especially if we can't get all the way to the back room to get the objective and make our way safely back out fast enough. So we're going to wait right at the doorstep and do that next turn. I'm going to have Meg activate next. What I'm worried about in terms of this choice, and this could mess me over, but I'm honestly quite scared of this inactive spawn zone, which can become active the second an abomination comes in. I need to get this objective token before it becomes a problem later on. This is my only opportunity to do so, and just not doing it in order to keep the feat that I'm trying to go after on the balcony, even though it seems like a reasonable thing to do, it could really stop me from getting an easy bounty card or bounty weapon right away. So I'm going to take the risk and have her head in there and grab the objective. So she uses 2 actions and another action to interact with the objective. She gets a bounty weapon, and this bounty weapon will fit perfectly in her favorite weapon slot for pistols. She also went from 12 to 17 on the AP track. And with her final action, she's going to step out of the building. It's also worth mentioning, we want to make sure that every survivor has one of these bounty weapons. So as of right now, Meg has 2 of them. We're going to need her to trade one off to somebody who doesn't have one. A new feat has been revealed on top of the bounty weapon deck, and it states to kill an abomination with your last action. We could certainly do this, but we don't have an abomination in play at this time. Yes, and one correction I need to make, no gameplay impact, just in terms of positioning. They're in the wrong spots right now, but I played everything correctly. This is Pablito, and it wasn't the individual I had moved in here to deal with all of the zombies. It was Carl, and Carl is orange, so just basically swapping them around, no impact whatsoever. It's time to get a little crazy here now. It's also worth mentioning the train is going to continue to move along the tracks here, and eventually it's going to kind of be sitting across the whole thing, and it's going to be impossible for the wagon to get across. So what I'm going to do is actually use my 2 characters I haven't actually activated in the middle in order to get back here and to help move the wagon across before it is basically sealed off. Because remember, this space in the middle is a backward C, so I can still get this wagon through it. I just couldn't have had the wagon inside this space when the train first came through, or it would destroy the wagon instantly. So it's a timing thing, and the same thing would occur if the train moves again to the next position and this wagon happens to be in this center space or C space. It would destroy the wagon. You can lose the game that way, especially if you have a survivor on the wagon at the time. It won't get moved over to the side like the survivors here were able to do. So Pablo is going to use 1 action and come down to the wagon and then use 3 actions to move the wagon and all of its contents 1 space forward. That's going to be the end of his turn. Now we're going to go ahead with Thomas, who's going to use 3 actions to move the wagon out of the way of the railroad and the train in the future to get it 1 space closer to all those spawns up there. That's going to do it. And with the final action, Thomas is going to step back 1 space. The last survivor to go is Jeb, who happens to be on the Gatling gun of the wagon and right in front of a whole bunch of zombies. He's going to go ahead rolling 4 dice, and he's going to make hits on anything 4+. So here goes with the very first action here for Jeb, and he's still in the blue, but with 1 kill, he'll get to yellow. So first action, he got himself 3 hits. After that shot, not only does he go up to the yellow level, he's now at 9 AP, but the boom token moves because it is equal or greater noise, and we use the Gatling gun as considered boom as well. The train was a boom, so it does move, and it's over there now. We're going to go ahead with the second action to make another attack with the Gatling gun and see what we get. We got ourselves 1, 2, and that's it, but 2 more gone. Let's go ahead with our third action here and see how we do with 4 dice. We got ourselves 2 more kills. And last but not least, we're going to roll 1 more time for the final 4th action for Jeb, see if he can get the 2 he needs to wipe out the whole area. And he didn't get it. He only got 1 hit. Oh no, so there's 1 left. That's going to do it for the player phase. We now move into the zombie phase. But before we do, the train, the locomotive, if it's on the game board, at this point in time, as soon as the player's phase is over, it's going to move. So when the train moves, it simply has this tile moving to this location. This tile flips over and goes to this side. The train moves down the track, exposing more of the train behind it, and it's shortly going to be long gone. We're going to have to get on this thing. We need to get these bounty weapons as soon as possible. The boom tokens also move to the front of the locomotive, as that's where all the noise is as the train is moving along. At the moment, we only have a single zombie on the game board, so that individual is coming into the same zone as the Gatling gun. And we're going to begin to spawn, and the only spawn zones we have are at the top north section of the game board. There's going to be 3 cards drawn. The first one, there it is. I knew it was going to happen eventually. Abomination. And it's the Blood Bull Abomination coming into the game. This one says if he has line of sight on its destination zone, the Blood Bull moves up to 3 zones per activation to reach it. The great news about this abomination showing up is the top card of the bounty weapon deck right now for its feat says to kill an abomination with your last action. So literally, that's what we want to do here. It's easy to mistake a Blood Bull for a human-type abomination when seen from afar, so keep an eye out for the horns. These beasts mean trouble, big trouble, because as soon as a Blood Bull sees you, it charges forward like you've got no tomorrow. The best way to deal with it is either blowing it up on the spot or getting out of its sight. Nothing will distract its mad rush short of a dynamite stick, whether you're wearing red or not. Now it states here if the Blood Bull has line of sight on its destination zone at the start of its activation, it moves up to 3 zones to reach it, as we read earlier. You set its destination zone before moving the Blood Bull. It moves to get there, and don't change its course if a new target appears along the way. Now that noise marker is going to be its destination zone, so basically if it does have line of sight to it, it is going to full sprint much faster than normal activation where we just move once. So in this case, thankfully the locomotive has moved a little bit further along, so it's out of his line of sight. Well, this is the worst possible thing I could have seen right now because the Abomination card came up again. We have another one, which means the one that's here, the Blood Bull, is going to activate. And based on its destination that it is setting, it's going to be, in this case, survivors that it can see within line of sight that don't have the noise token, which is the second option because, well, the best option would be survivors with a noise token. So it's heading into the space there with the Gatling gun. It's going to run its way in because it has the ability to move up to 3 zones per activation to reach its destination zone, and then it's going to attack me. As I have multiple survivors in the zone, I can choose who's taking the wound. In this case, I'm going to have Meg take the wound. I want to keep Jeb away from wounds, mainly because, well, he's on the Gatling gun. He's going to be doing a lot of work to keep the spawn zones clear. And the next card that comes off the top of the deck is an extra activation for walkers. And there is a walker in the same space as the Abomination and my 2 characters. Remember the one that Jeb wasn't able to deal with? Well, I guess in this case, I'm going to be having to suck it up and give another wound here to somebody else. And it cannot be to Meg because it would kill her off. So it's got to be Jeb. Now this is pretty crazy because I took 2 wounds, but thank goodness Meg ended up staying in that space because otherwise Jeb would have taken both of those and that would have been it. We would have lost right there. So we were able to each take a wound, keeping ourselves alive overall. And we didn't spawn a ton, but we also got that Abomination out, which works really nice for a feat. Boom token flips over to a bang token, and we're ready to head into another player phase. But just before we do that, something that I missed during the zombie spawn phase, which I caught, which won't have any gameplay impact whatsoever, but when I was resolving the very first spawn point, I got an Abomination. The second I did that, I should have activated the inactive spawn over here. I would have gone through the other cards like I did for the orange mobile spawns and then wrapped around clockwise to this Abomination one over here, which would have given us this card as the next one off the top of the deck for 8 runners. At this point, we're done the zombie phase and we're moving into the players phase. All right, the first individual I'm going to activate in this player phase is Thomas, and just because of the wording of the feat on the top of the bounty weapon card that's currently there, it says, for the heavy saber, kill an Abomination with your last action. The only individual that you guys know can do this is Thomas currently. We don't have anything else that can pull off a kill on an Abomination, so Thomas has to do this, but it has to be in his last action, so let's burn a handful of actions and then get ourselves set up to accomplish this and get another one of these bounty weapons, which will give us the 5th one that we need. Again, want to remind you guys, we need to have a bounty weapon on every individual survivor in this one. So one person can't just be carrying all of them. So that makes things even more fun. There'll be some trading going on too. So I'm going to have Thomas here move from here to here and back to here. So essentially burning 2 actions to do basically nothing. And then the same space here with Pablito, I'm going to do a trade. I'm going to take Pablito's pickaxe from him and give him nothing in return. And now with that done, we're on to our final action where Thomas is going to make a shot against the Abomination here. So we're going to go ahead rolling our 3 dice. 4+ is going to be a hit and we'll kill it. So let's see how we do. This is the last action. So this will accomplish the feat as long as we get the roll we want to see, which is a 4+. And we got it. 3 4s is pretty awesome, but we only needed the 1 anyway. This Abomination is dead. I'm going up by 5 on Thomas's AP track from 22 to 27, and he's gaining that bounty weapon. Here's a closer look at the card so you can see it before it was accomplished in terms of the feat. We'll flip it over and that gives us this awesome saber, which is now in the equipment pile for Thomas. Next, I'm going to activate Pablito, who's going to trade with Thomas in order to take the saber from him, which gives him a bounty weapon. The first one he's had. He's also going to spend a second action here to move north into the space with Jeb and Meg. The saber is a 2 damage weapon, which doesn't really matter here because we're attacking a walker, but we're rolling 2 dice and it's a 3+ in order to hit. So feeling relatively confident we'll be able to take out this one individual walker here, and we just pull it off. He gains an AP, bringing him from 9 to 10, and for the last action, he's going to move back to the space where Thomas is. That'll do it for Pablito, and the next thing we need to focus on is what new bounty weapon feat has been revealed on the top of the deck. We definitely want to know what that is and try to aim for it, so I'll show you right now. The next one we can gain from a feat, or if we grab an objective, there is one objective left on the map, is the Volcanic Pistol. Gain 3 AP or more in a single action with a pistol or dual pistols. So kind of tough to pull that off, and it is very situational, but we can attempt. And something I forgot to do was move the bang token after I took a shot here with Thomas, who was the last person that actually made a shot that was equal in terms of noise. Remember, when we had Pablito and he ran in here, he used a melee weapon, so no noise there. So the bang token is currently right here. The survivor with the best odds of completing the feat on the Volcanic Pistol, which is to gain 3 AP or more in a single action with a pistol, or dual pistols if you have them, is Meg in this situation, and that's because she has this Colt bunt line. I think I've called it hunt line a couple times in the past, so I'll try to correct myself going forward. But basically, I could use this weapon as a gunslinger, and that allows me to fan with it. You'll see some guns will tell you straight up you cannot fan with it, but if I fan with this one, it could be very useful as I get additional dice, go a little bit over the top, and try to get as much AP as I possibly can, because I have to have this happen in a single action. The first thing Meg's going to need to do is get closer. She's not townsfolk, so she's not able to shoot further into locations, and although it's hard to see because there's lots of runners, so there is a line dividing this into 2 different areas. So I'm going to move into the mineshaft area for 1 action. And using my class ability, which allows me to use a single pistol equipped in hand to perform a ranged action, I get to unload the weapon at crazy speed. So range-wise, we're unchanged, but I'm within range of 1 to 3, which is perfect. I get 6 dice. The accuracy level is going to be 5+. Of course, it can be modified if you have anything else that can add extra dice into the fray, which I do not have, unfortunately. It does say I have a free reload as an action here, so it's good, because if I fan, I can actually freely reload in order to be ready to attempt again. There's enough runners here, I might be able to pull this off. And then of course the boom side of the noise token is going to happen because I'm making so much noise. All right, here's hoping I can land this. I need to see 3 happen or more inside of this action. So it's going to be a 5+. We need 5s and 6s. So we see a 5, you see dynamite, that's good news. Anything else, not good news. So let's see how we do. We got ourselves 1, 2, 3. We got it. That is going to be a feat completed with that roll. Awesome. That's 6 of the bounty weapons now collected. That was absolutely awesome because we have all of the bounty weapons we need now. We just need to trade some around and get onto the train and get out of town. So right now, Meg has thinned the herd of runners down by 3, which I've done. I bumped up her AP as well, which gets her into the orange area where she's going to be able to select between having an additional die for ranged or the townsfolk ability, which would have given her the ability to actually shoot further into one of those spaces than she would have needed to move prior. It also allows her to search a lot, so that's also a plus. But in this situation where we're probably trying to clear off the zombies on the board, I'm guessing the extra die for ranged probably is the way to go here. So I selected the 1 die ranged, and honestly, I need to get this individual out of there. So I'm going to move Meg now 2 spaces to get into the same position as Thomas and Pablito. So Meg is now with Thomas as well as Pablito, has no more actions though, but has tons of bounty weapons on her. She's got 3. So once everyone kind of gets together in the same area, then we're definitely going to be doing some trading, absolutely. We also need to activate at this point Jeb, who has the Gatling gun. He is a townsfolk, which gives him the ability to shoot further than 1 space into a building, meaning he can actually hit the runners using that Gatling gun. There are 5 runners left. Jeb turns his Gatling gun around and begins to unload on them. Now there is one correction to the usage of the Gatling gun that I want to point out because it could easily be missed. Escalation range here tells us in the rulebook that you get an additional die when making a ranged attack, but it's on subsequent actions spent using the Gatling gun. So the idea or premise here is like a typical Gatling gun. You're starting it up, it's going, so you're going to get 3 dice as it mentions on the card, but if you continue to unload bullets, the clip is beginning to unload at a faster rate, meaning you're able to pump out more ammunition. And if you're doing subsequent actions worth of attacks, you then get to add on subsequent actions an additional die into the fray as the Gatling gun is kind of in full churn at that point. That's the thematic idea behind it. What I had done was placed all 4 in from the get-go, so that is definitely worth noting when you're playing not to do that. But in this case, we'll do it right. So we're going to go ahead and roll 3 dice right now, and we're going to see how many of these guys we can churn down, and this will go up to 4 if I continue to use actions to blow these guys away. And we're going to probably need it anyway, because I've only got the ability to kill 3. Oh my gosh, that is not a good roll, so a complete and utter miss. Jeb, you're going to have to try harder than that. So we're going to go ahead and make another action here to do another attack with the Gatling gun. We now get the escalation range, so the extra dice in the fold. We're going to roll it off and see how we do. I think this is a little better. We've got 2 kills. And the Gatling gun, of course, being as noisy as it is, moves the boom token to the wagon. We're going to go ahead and roll again. This is the 3rd action. We still have 4 dice in the fray. Let's see how we do. We got ourselves 2 more hits, which is good. Jeb is currently at 16 after gathering the first couple from the last attack. He's getting 2 more right now. That'll jump him up to 18, and we'll have 1 runner left. And Jeb goes into his 4th action to take out the final one and just does it. So where he killed off the last runner, also this tile right here should have flipped over to his inactive side once we killed the Abomination. No gameplay impact there, but just make sure you do it the second you kill the Abomination. Got too excited with what was going on. And Jeb just creeped into orange territory, so he's going to be able to choose between a free ranged action or the brawler skill. I'll take the free ranged action. Jeb gains the skill, but is unable to use it in this turn, so his turn is done. I'm going to activate Trixie next, who has the jump ability, allowing her to spend 1 action in order to jump from the balcony down to the area down below, anything adjacent, and then she's going to move into the train area and actually get off of the train and get into the area with the rest of the individuals that have additional bounty weapons to trade to her in the future. She only has 3 actions, so the best she can do in her turn here is get down over to the group. Her turn is done. The only individual who hasn't gone yet is Carl. He was originally thinking he would go into the room here and get the objective, but we don't need to do that anymore, so he's going to move into space with everybody else and maybe use the rest of his actions to start helping to trade items around. Carl moves for 1 action. He uses another action now to trade. He's going to take the Colt and the volcanic pistol from Meg. Carl will use his 3rd action to trade the volcanic pistol to Trixie. And just so you have an understanding as to which posse members have and don't have bounty weapons, because again, we each have to be carrying one. We have Meg here with 1. We have Trixie here with 1. Thomas has 1 that's off screen. Remember the Henry repeater. Over here, Pablito has the saber. Jeb has nothing. He's currently on the Gatling gun and needs to get into the pile in order to trade later on. And then over here, Carl's holding 2, and he's going to trade 1 of them to Jeb once they meet up. And that's going to be my purple and orange characters. For my final action, I'm going to move Carl into the same space as Jeb, mainly to be a meat shield, because Carl has 3 health, so he can take some hits on behalf of Jeb, which would be a good idea because Jeb already took a hit and 1 more will kill him. So if something comes out of the spawn phase that's really nasty or things double activate or something, I'm going to need protection for Jeb in terms of damage or he's going to be in big time trouble. I'm a little terrified that we have to go through 1 more spawn. I'm hoping we can take care of everything that comes out and then we can all jump onto the train, but this could be pretty wild. At this point, that's going to end off the player phase. Every single character has taken a turn. We're going to move on. At the end of the player phase, the train moves again. It's going to continue on down the tracks, leaving just 1 section of it available. With the train on the move, we only have the next upcoming player phase to get our characters on board. We now move to the zombie phase, and there's no activations because there are no zombies in play currently. We did a great job as a posse clearing out the town and also avoiding having to go into that top right-hand building for that objective to get one of those bounty weapons. We were able to do it through other means, allowing us to avoid having the corpse pile activate as a new spawn. So that definitely was handy. Now we only have to deal with the spawns that are currently up north. There's going to be cards coming out for each of them one at a time. The first card off the top of the deck is a pile of walkers. We have 10 of them entering the board. We got lucky on the second card. This is an extra activation specific to runners. There are none in play. The final card is an extra activation for walkers, and we definitely have a bunch of those, so they are all moving forward one position surrounding the wagon. I guess the good news is that the zombies got closer to us, but these are the ones we need to take out, and then we need to get everybody on board the train. The last thing to adjust is the noise token, which when the locomotive moved ahead here, we only have the one car left. The boom token, which was on the Gatling gun, moves over here, and then it flips over to the bang side now that we're at the end of the phase. And we're going to go back into the player phase right now and see if we can actually win this. I'm going to have Thomas activate first. He is going to be using his Henry repeater, which is 3 dice, 4+, in order to make a hit. He's shooting from his space into the space with 2 other survivors as well as a bunch of zombies. You might think that's a bad idea, but Thomas has the skill Marksman at the orange level, allowing him to not only pick the individual enemies he wants to hit, but also avoid injuring other survivors in that zone for misses, which is huge right now. So we're going to go ahead with Thomas. He's going to take some shots first. I have 4 actions with Thomas, so I can take at least 3 actions of attacking back to back to back, and then 1 action to get into the train right behind him. Let's see how he does here in blue. He's got himself 2 hits. Not bad. We got 8 more zombies to go. Thomas is at 29 AP currently. Let's see how we do on the next shot. Ooh, much, much worse. Thomas completely misses on his second attempt. We're going to go for the third one here and hopefully get a little bit better of a result. He got 2. Thomas goes up to 31 total AP and then jumps on the train as it's moving along the tracks. We're going to go to our next activation of a hero. And as you can see, Thomas has a bounty weapon on him, so he's good to go. Carl is up next. He's going to use his bounty weapon, which is a melee weapon, allowing him to roll 3 dice, and 3+ is going to be a hit, so pretty solid there. He also gets a free melee action, so he might as well take that one right off the hop before he even gets into his other actions. So he's rolling 3 dice, and the knife that he's holding in his hand also gives him an additional die when rolling, or basically using another melee weapon. So he's got 4 dice, which is pretty good. So he should be able to thrash through these guys quite easily, hopefully. I hope. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Carl is a beast and is able to just rip through everybody in that space, killing off 4 walkers at once. He also goes up to a total of 24 AP. One of the die that I rolled in my dice pool here rolled off camera, but it was another 6 just to show you. So I had 1, 2, 3. 3 of them are gone. Pretty insane. Now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing again for the first of his 4 actions, because that first one there was a free attack action, or melee action, I should say. So we're going to go for our very first action of the 4 that Carl has. Let's see how he does. I'm assuming these 2 are going to be very, very dead. Oh, yes, indeed. And just like that, we're set up perfectly for Carl. He has 3 actions remaining. He's going to use a trade action right now to give Jeb in his space one of the bounty weapons. So now, looking across all of my characters, every single one of them has a bounty weapon. Now we're going to run to the train with every single action that I have. So Carl, using his last 2 actions, will go from the space here with the wagon, 1 and 2, into the train. I also did a quick update of the noise token because Thomas, remember, took some shots from this area, so the bang that wasn't here should be over here. Again, no gameplay impact, but I always forget that. The noise tokens always get me every single time. And then we're going to go ahead and activate our next individual, which in this case, it doesn't matter who we're activating. We can essentially just activate them all one after the other. They're all able to get inside the train. And just like that, we've gone to the end of the player phase with all of the characters holding each a bounty weapon, all on board of the train, and not a single zombie in sight. And the train continues on as it leaves the town. And as you can see, for mission number 1, the Bandwagon, we were able to accomplish all of the objectives in order as required by the scenario. The first thing was to get 1 bounty weapon per survivor, so everybody had one. Some are found in town, some we accomplished feats in order to get, but we were able to get them regardless. We even left an objective out on the table because we were smart in not activating another corpse pile, which we'd have to deal with for zombies at the tail end. And then the second thing we did was exit with all survivors on the train. There must be no zombies on the board whatsoever. And the very top right, it gives you a nice mention of be careful, the train can enter the board before you get all the required bounty weapons, which actually happened to me. I think I had 4 when the train showed up, and then I really had to hightail it to get those other 2 feats or objectives collected before I could get out of there. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up the showcase for Zombicide Undead or Alive from Cool Mini or Not. Really hope you enjoyed the full play of mission number 1, the Bandwagon, where we were able to actually jump onto a wagon using a Gatling gun and the rest of the posse to clear out the entire town. We were able to obtain objectives by either going after bounty weapons or getting objectives inside of buildings while corpse piles were popping up. And of course, that's a huge part of the strategy in avoiding some buildings at times to avoid certain spawn zones from occurring. But the management of the spawn zones across the game board from the beginning to the end is a huge part of the strategic gameplay. All of that really just boils into a very interesting experience that's very thematic for a Western vibe. And honestly, when I went into this one, the Western vibe wasn't exactly the iteration of Zombicide that I would typically lean towards out of all the available ones. But after playing this, there is one iteration of Zombicide from many moons ago, Black Plague, which has been kind of a staple in my mind as one of the best iterations of Zombicide that's been created, where things really got to a point where I thought they were very, very good. This one, for me, actually pushes Black Plague away. I'm actually A-okay with letting Black Plague go at this point. I think Undead or Alive does it better. For me, personally. Some people will say it's the other way around. For me, I found after my plays on and off camera of this one, I like the new additions into the fray of this. I like that they've kind of added in the train. I think that's really cool, whether it's moving through the entirety of the scenario or it's immobile and it's just sitting there, or even in some situations there is no train whatsoever. There's just different aspects of what's going on in here with the bounty weapons and the feats and just enough stuff to kind of spice things up in a way in which I kind of prefer, and it adds layers of strategy to what you're doing that I really think make the experience as a whole more enjoyable. And it also allows you to be more strategic from the beginning rather than kind of winging it for the first quarter of the game, where you can kind of just search endlessly, grabbing whatever's in sight in order to kind of prepare yourself for the onslaught. This one, you know, you have time kind of running against you in some situations as well. Like what we saw inside of this mission number 1 was literally a timer with an objective token moving across the game board and then a train showing up that's only going to be there for so long. So you can't kind of dilly-dally along and just hope that everything pans out. So it's mission design like that I really like, but it's also some of the new stuff that's been kind of thrown in here. Some of it, of course, is inspired from previous iterations of Zombicide, including Black Plague, because that's primarily, I think, where this one draws most of its inspiration from. But also, it's just nice to not have a fantasy theme for Zombicide, because, well, there's fantasy everything these days. So the Western theme not being overdone as much as fantasy is kind of gives a nice fresh take on the entirety of the Zombicide experience. So for me, this is one that's going to stick around in my collection. I really like it. So thank you guys again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.